Peter tries to stay positive. Here's a look at the Diamond Select. This is the Marvel Gamerverse Spider-Man Negative Suit PVC diorama statue. This gallery diorama of Spider-Man in his negative suit is based on his appearance in the video game Spider-Man. It features detailed sculpting and paint applications and is crafted of high-quality PVC. It was designed by Cesar and sculpted by Cortez Studios. Before we feast our peepers on the new Negative Suit Spidey Gallery statue, which, by the way, FYI, is a San Diego 2020 previews exclusive, the first thing we're going to do is calculate just how tall the statue actually stands. And while I am doing said calculations, I'd also like to send out a said thanks to the folks over at Diamond Select, who provided the sample that we're having a look at in this review. If you're in the market, by the way, picking this one up for yourself, I'm not really sure if it's out yet, but your best bet would be, of course, to check out various online sites, as that's probably your best bet to get a lot of these previews exclusives at. Nonetheless, though, you're looking at the gallery statue of Negative Suit Spider-Man standing 10 inches exactly. And for those that do all their measurements in centimeters, let me provide that to you. 25.5 or 25.5 centimeters is the Negative Suit Spidey from Diamond Select. Right out the gate, one thing I did want to comment on this particular statue, and I know, if anything, it's probably my own OCD at work, is you can see that Spider-Man's perched on top of, well, what I could best describe as a stone memorial with his logo on the front. But as you see it, you would be probably guessing that Spider-Man is the focal point on this statue, and yet my peepers seem to continue to hone in on his logo here. And I always feel like I want to do this. Turn it so it's facing straight forward. This now results in creating a problem. Now Spider-Man's looking off to the side, and I know most people wouldn't care. They probably would just have Spider-Man facing this way. I know it's just me, and I feel that need to want to make that logo dead center. Craziness aside, let's have a look at the display base, which, as again, I best describe as sort of a memorial stone here with Spider-Man's logo elevated from said stone. And even though this is comprised of PVC plastic, Diamond really did a good bang-up job on this to mimic what could be stone. Not only did they paint this, or likely probably molded it just in this plastic color here, this rusted red, but they flicked, without the sound effects I'm sure, additional black and white specks across it to make it look like it's stone. As I run my finger in the groove, as you can hopefully see, it's been sculpted in place. It hasn't been painted. Nice little details. I mean, any company could easily have just molded this piece and then just gone in and painted the lines, but Diamond actually put the grooves in there, and that's a nice touch. Flipping around to the front, to the mentioned already thing that's driving me bananas, is the logo that, of course, has slight covering by Spider-Man's one foot. It's just, as you can see, in front of the Spider-Man logo. It's been raised, and as you can see, they haven't completely finished painting it, or at least given it a sense that the edges of the logo have unfinished paint, so it kind of looks like it was carved as opposed to like just painted on a surface. I like that. It's a nice kind of wear touch to it that I think it was like I said, a nice touch to add that to the statue. Normally though, I would flip upside down the base just because that's the thing I do. And normally you would see this being completely open. Now it's still hollow. It's no different than the other gallery statues we've seen before, and that probably won't be changing anytime soon, but they actually did cover this over and leave sort of an air hole underneath it. And as you can see, that makes for a generally light statue, with most of the plastic not really being here, but instead being the Spider-Man that's perched on top. Speaking of perched Spider-Man, here we have Spider-Man in his negative suit, one of the various skins that he can acquire over the course of the game. It's a very interesting suit. You'd have to see it to believe it. I know looking at the statue, you would almost just think his costume is white on the legs, white slightly on the mid-torso and his arms, but actually in the game, it's not even white at all. It sort of does have the white, but it's primarily almost like this color here. And it's crazy the way that it works in the game. It sort of seems to alternate and fluctuate when light's hitting it. It almost has like a life of its own. Diamond really did a good job of mimicking that on this particular gallery release. While yes, the main primary color is this white, they've then airbrushed this blue-based gray pretty much across most of the surface to sort of mimic that fluctuating of light that his suit has in the game. That happens, of course, across the sides of his torso, all across his back as well, of varying degrees of that airbrushing. It really does look quite good. It's pretty close, again, to the way it looks in the game. Gone would be the colors that Spider-Man would normally be seen in, although the design of the costume isn't that much different than the one he normally wears in the game, but just sucked away is the blue and the red in favor of this sort of blue-based gray that we talked about before, and primarily all this black that then replaces the red that we normally expect to see. As you can see again, the webbing, much like the base, has been etched in there. They've sculpted this in. And I know I continue to draw attention to that, but again, when you think that there are some companies that would simply just paint those web lines in, Diamond takes the time instead to etch those lines in and groove those lines into the mold. And that's a nice touch as well. The spider eyes, Spider-Man's eyes, as you can see, has that meshing. You can almost make it out, and hopefully, there you go, the camera can pick that up. There's a meshing that's across his eyes, so it's not simply just painted white. Around that is a slightly lighter gray that would replace or take the place of the black that you would normally have on his costume. The black really does stand out, specifically when you do put the white webbing against that. Things like his spider emblem here on the front would normally have been lost, but thank goodness they did use that same sort of bluish gray to outline that so it's different from the white webbing that he normally has. Like I said, it does stand out. It stands out a lot more, actually, really, when you look at the back of it, because really, most of it is kind of running into then the white costume color with some additional sculpting, as you can see, these panel lines that really do stand out, especially despite really for the fact that it's the same color as the rest of his costume. He's got a lot of that everywhere. On his arms, for example, he's got these additional outlines of panel raised sculpting, and he also has that on the sides here as well. It's a really different designed costume, even though technically it carries a lot of the same similar elements that his regular costume has, just in a very crazy sort of presentation. I like the pose on this particular one. This one shows quite well. One foot is on top of the stone, while the other one here is presented here on the front, with some additional gray on the heel and almost very familiar swoosh lines done here all in black. This is a particular statue I feel, and though I've said this countless times already, primarily with like even the Predator gallery statue that we had a look at before, if Diamond does nail a sculpt on a statue, in this case I do feel like they nailed a good pose and just position for Spider-Man. Like, look at that. That looks really neat. I think personally they could really reuse this mold for various different Spidey releases. Of course, the obvious one would be the traditional blue and red colors. I don't think they'd have to change too much to the one that we got here with the negative costume. Simply just change the colors out. Or to the extreme of that, they could also change out the costume so that we have like characters like Spidey 2099 or the Scarlet Spider. I don't know if necessarily every collector would like the idea of having multiple Spider-Mans across their shelf, which is all using the same mold. But it's just to say, though, that Diamond did such a good job on the pose on this particular Spidey that I feel it really could lend itself well to additional releases in various different costume designs and various different costume colors. The negative suit Spider-Man costume isn't simply just his regular game costume with the colors gone in favor of white and black. No. There's a lot more interesting things going on with this particular suit. If you don't have the game, just check out the footage, the gameplay footage of the negative suit, and you'll see exactly what I mean. It seems to change its light. It fluctuates, it seems, with its environment. And it seems to change like it's made of energy. This has been translated, I feel, well by Diamond to this gallery statue release of Spider-Man. Taking those cues, they've airbrushed this dark gray to the majority of his white costume, so it does a pretty good job of mimicking the same things it does in the game. Of course, those pops of black and white webbing really does make this particular Spider-Man stand out. I like at least as well that the base was kept very neutral in its color scheme, relying more on the rusted red so it didn't have to compete and take anything away from Spidey's costume. Still, I know I'm going to be bothered by the idea that the logo is different, at least in a different angle than where Spider-Man is standing. Don't worry, I'm sure I'll get over it, and I'll probably just display the statue so that Spider-Man is facing straight forward. Or you never know, I might even just abandon both ideas and have the Spider-Man on an angle, maybe sideways, on the very edge of my bookshelf, which I've done with a couple of Spider-Mans that we've had a look at in the past. Anyway, you slice it, this is really a nice designed costume in the game, very unique costume in the game, and a very unique designed statue from the folks over at Diamond Select. FYI, this one is going to be released in August of 2020, so it isn't actually out just yet. A big thank you to the folks, though, at Diamond Select who made the review possible by sending the Negative Suit Gallery diorama statue of Spider-Man. That's going to be a bit of a mouthful and a pain to put that all in the title, but they did send this my way. And again, if you're in the market of picking this one up for yourself, it is a previews exclusive for September 2020, and various online sites I've already checked have this one on pre-order for a release date of August 2020. So you could probably put a pre-order in right now if you're looking to add this one to your collection. If you're new to the channel and you're liking the content that you're seeing and you certainly would like to stay on board this train and see as far as it's going to take you, might I recommend that you hit that subscribe button down below right. Might I recommend that you hit that bell notification, and might I recommend that you keep your peepers peeled, because there's definitely going to be a lot of videos coming your way. We're going to be looking at a whole bunch of Diamond Select statue reviews and other Diamond Select figures and collectibles and stuff like that. So if Diamond is your fancy and you'd like to see more from that company, stay tuned to this channel Monday to Friday at 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when new videos start popping up. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.